Pepsi versus Coca-Cola, boxers versus briefs, Mitsubishi versus Subaru. The age-old battle continues between these two mega giants in the e-reader world. This is the brand new 6.8-inch Amazon Kindle Paperwhite 5. One of the few times Amazon has gone past the 6-inch screen size since the DX and the Oasis, versus the Kobo Libra 2, the second generation of Libra H2O devices with the H2O name dropped. We're going to answer a very simple question that might not be that easy to answer. Which one is better? Let's check it out. We'll put the Kindle on the left and the Kobo on the right. We have a sunken 7-inch screen versus a flush screen and bezel. The Kobo is officially using the new Carta HD 1200 screen. We cannot confirm whether Kindle is using the 1200 screen because it is not officially stated, but it is an HD screen. The resolution is higher on the Kobo at 1680 by 1264 versus 1648 by 1236. They're both 300 ppi, but the Kobo has base model 32 gigs and the Kindle only gets 8. There are also 21 LEDs on the Kobo and 17 on the Kindle. They're both USB-C and waterproof, and they all both have their little bonus thing. For example, Kobo has Overdrive and Kindle has Goodreads. So you might be thinking, wow, Kobo's pretty good, isn't it? Well, it is, but it's $40 more than the Kindle. Because with both of these e-readers being sub $200, $40 is a huge difference. If you guys want to watch individual review videos of both of these units, you can on our YouTube channel. We both have 15+ minute videos on each of these. So we're going to be repeating a lot of the same things, but we'll try not to say that too many times. On the Kindle, you have everything up top: home, back, settings, Goodreads, and store. You can click on settings to make the drop down come down. You can't make it drop down with your finger. You have to click settings. You have airplane mode, dark mode, which flips everything into dark mode. Both of these guys do have dark mode. We'll show you that in a bit. Sync your Kindle and all settings. Your glow light is right here. We'll show you that in a little bit as well. Kobo approaches things icon based rather than in a top kind of drop down bar. You can't drop it down at all, although you can tap on each individual thing as it stands. Now, whereas the Kindle can change the light on the fly, you can see like this, Kobo does not. You actually don't change anything at all until you let go, which can get a little bit frustrating. You can check your Wi-Fi here, your battery level here, your software sync, and your search device wide. It will remember the last position that your gyroscope was in, so please keep that in mind. What you have located on your device is the top left corner, and on the Kobo it's what you're recently reading and your books right there. Now you might be wondering, related reads, read as much as you want and find your next book in the Kobo store. This is pretty much half of the screen devoted to advertising, and it looks like the Kindle has it one-upped because it's like, oh look, there's no advertising on my side, but there is. If you notice this little scroller bar, it gives you the appearance that they're not trying to throw the store experience down your throat. In reality, they are. A lot more, in fact. Everything is recommended reads, related reads, go to the store, buy this, follow this. So they hide it well, and that's not positive or negative, it's just showing you the way that both of these guys display things. If you go down here on Kobo, you can go to My Books, in which case it just takes you over to your library, and your library is located on the top left corner here on the Kindle. You both have ways to sort and filter and change the views and all that kind of stuff. Discover on the bottom here is where you're going to go to your internet things. So for example, if you want to borrow books from Overdrive, you want to sign up with Kobo Plus for $9.99 a month. You want to go to your audiobook store, or you just go to the ebook store. Same with Amazon. Once you go to the store, you get a couple things that are similar. You do have your books and your categories and everything like that, recommended, reference books, all that kind of stuff. Now they do have a little interesting toggle here, much like the Kobo, it toggles, but instead of kind of this tabbed experience, it almost feels like a switch, which is really nice. The Audible store or the Kindle store. So if you want audiobooks, you will go over to the Audible store and click on that. Same with Kobo, and we will show you audiobooks in a little bit. You can click on something like so, and it'll show you your purchase decision. Now you have to be careful because some of these things say buy for $34, free and clear. This will say buy for $29, but it'll also say buy for $0. And you have to read the really tiny print. It says with Audible trial, cancel anytime. Same with Kobo, they have Kobo Plus, so they're always kind of throwing their monthly rebilling services at you. Just make sure you're looking at what you're signing up for before you click anything. We have the same font and font styles on both of these, so this is as close as humanly possible. Now, it's hard to see unless you're here with your naked eye, but a sunken screen is pretty much always going to look better than a flush screen and bezel. So if you check the very corner right here on an Amazon device, you'll see that there's a shadow around the entire inner bezel because there is a layer up in front on top of the e-ink screen, whereas there is no shadow on the Kobo. And why this is because this is the screen with a little bit of a plastic layer baked on from factory. So it all comes down to simplify things. The less layers in front of your eyes and the viewable surface, the better it looks. The contrast looks better on the Kobo simply because it doesn't have an extra layer of stuff on top. Whereas the Kindle is a very clean, high density, flush screen and bezel. It looks great, but it doesn't look as crisp as the Kobo looks. The Kobo also has a little bit more of an advantage. You can turn pages by swiping or tapping. Now the Kobo has buttons, so that's really cool, and that's obviously a huge thing, but it has fast nav, so you can press and hold this and it whips through the book pretty fast, I might add, with minimal staining, zero refreshing until you're actually ready to take your finger off the trigger. It's a fantastic feature. Kindle does have something like that when it comes to manga. It's a fast manga navigation they borrowed from the manga model that came out in Japan, but they have no such page turn speed. As you can see, you'd have to tap like that or swipe like that, and granted it does do as good of a job, but look how much more input your hand requires versus the Kobo. That aside, you can change the font styles. All the font options are right here on the AA or the AA right there. Amazon gives you blocks. They like giving you blocks, boldness blocks, size blocks, etc. Everything's, blocked off. Kobo gives you slider bars, so you get these little slider bars here. You can go like this. Everything changes live in the background. Same with Amazon. Everything's going to change live. Change the font size, font styles. Amazon does it a little bit differently with these little tabs. So if you have to change the margins, you go to layout. If you want to change anything else, you go to more. There's some stuff down here. Again, watch the full review. Kobo has a little bit more of an advanced section called advanced. You can choose a before and after look of what you want it to look like. And this is really cool because you get a little mini map and it'll show you exactly what it's going to be. If you get too scared and you're like, oh, that's too much for me, revert it or just exit out and you can go back to exactly what you had before. Both of these have long presses and they both display them different ways. So you get a top card here and you get multiple cards on the Kindle. This will have translation, Wikipedia, etc. It'll basically be the same thing, but you just have to do more work on the Kobo. You see there's drop downs and stuff like that. They both have highlights, notes, shares, searches, all that fun stuff. Again, on the Kobo, the lack of an extra layer on top and the bigger screen just makes PDFs look much better. It's more crisp, it's more clear. It just looks ever so fuzzy on the Kindle when pitted up against the Kobo. On its own, it looks fine. It's just when you have something to compare it to, you're like, oh no. The Kobo and the Kindle approach things very differently. For example, tapping in the center, I can't really navigate anywhere on the Kindle, but I have a slider bar here. So I can slide over to wherever I want and I get a little mini-map view of what that page is going to look like. And that's really nice, and then I can go into it. The Kindle doesn't do that. You have to say go to, and because it's a side-loaded content, it only just has page numbers, and there's so many more steps you have to go to just to turn a page and fast nav. Again, the Kobo just makes things so much more easy with its buttons and having so many different ways to change a page. You do have pinch and zoom on both of these as well, which is very, very nice to have. When you pinch and zoom, the Kindle immediately comes up with a mini map, and it is much smoother. The Kobo just looks terrible pinch and zoomed. It goes into not only an A2 mode, it's like an A10 mode. Look at that. The picture is just dissolved to a point of non-recognition. You don't know where you are on the page because the minimap just arbitrarily chooses to turn on whenever it wants to. It's not a very good experience when you pinch and zoom, whereas the Kindle is just tried and true. The Kindle started being good after the Paperwhite 2. Ever since then, it no longer crashes, and in fact, on the smaller side of e-readers, a Kindle is a fantastic PDF reader, screen size aside. Manga looks fantastic on the Kobo, and in fact, half of all the promotional stuff in Japan for the Kobo is manga, because they have a huge manga following in Japan. Obviously, they made manga. So these are the exact same mangas side by side. It is more of a portrait-y feel on this, where this is a little bit more square because it's a larger screen and the dimensions are also a little bit different. You do have the buttons on the Kobo, we've mentioned many a time, but you can press it to do this kind of fast nav, but you don't really know where you are and you don't know how fast you're going. So that's a little bit of a downside on the Kobo, despite it looking so good. Whereas on the Kindle, you see there it is. That is what we absolutely love. This, you have complete control over this. You just slide your finger, you can choose how fast it needs to go, and this is borrowed or taken from the Amazon Kindle manga model that was released exclusively in Japan. So that's really cool that they've carried it over into every future Paperwhite. So as we turn pages, they both look great. Again, the Kobo just has to go. Look how white this background is. It just looks absolutely fantastic. The blacks are blacker, the whites are whiter. You just get a little bit of a washed out feel around all the lines and the harsh black versus white contrasts. It's very evident up against each other. Again, Kobo struggles to keep up with its pinch and zoom, whereas Amazon is just far more fluid. And you get a little mini map again on the bottom. This time it doesn't show you a thumbnail, but it gives you an idea of where you are on the page at least. Again, both of these guys bring their own little interesting flavor to it. So for example, Amazon has Goodreads, it's just a little community, people can write reviews, editorials, stuff like that. And Kobo has Overdrive, so you can link your account, you can link your library card and just start borrowing books from your local library. So they both have their own thing and neither of them has the other thing. Surprisingly enough, because I personally don't think it looks that great, dark mode has been something that a lot of people really want. Now, if you're new to e-readers don't hurt your eyes inherently, and dark mode's just that much better. So let's check it out how we get to it. How many taps do each of these take? 1, 2, and 3 you're into dark mode on the Kindle, 4, 5 you're into dark mode on the Kobo. So it takes a little bit more, little buzzing around with this. I think I said buzzing because I read buzzing, but when you get into it, you get dark mode. Now, right out of the gates, the Kindle doesn't look that great. You're getting, and again, this is way more apparent with the naked eye, you're getting a weird sludgy black with almost orange peach colored text, whereas the Kobo is black and white. It's just inarguably black and white. It's pretty impressive. And we can change the font all we want here, and both of the glow lights are off. Both of these are completely off. We can lower the boldness, we can up the font, line spacing. It just doesn't look as crisp and clear on the Kindle. So far, up until now, a lot of our testing has been that the Kindle just suffers a lot from that top layer they put on it to make it a flush screen and bezel, whereas the Kobo is very much more of a true just e-reading experience than the Kindle.
Might have been the inspiration for many a poster in the late 80s. The engine died, and its drone evaporated into stillness.
I sat waiting for the Prime Minister to arrive. The terminal is distant and isolated, far from the bustling main terminal and the eyes of the public and the media.
So in the end, which one of these two e-readers is better? Here's the answer. To be honest, we don't have an answer. Reason being, they're both pretty much on the same playing field. They both approach things in their own way, their own very familiar way, we must add. Kobo has more books on their bookstore, is more internationally friendly, and its buttons, whether you want them there or not, are loved by many. On the other hand, the Amazon Kindle name is the most influential and synonymous name when it comes to e-readers. There's a reason they've had 11 generations of Kindles and 5 generations of the Paperwhite model line. They're that good. In November, when the Signature Edition comes out and we pit it up against the Kobo Sage, which will be coming up soon or will already be on our YouTube channel based on when you're watching this video, we might have a different answer for you. But right now, it just seems that these guys in the boxing ring are just duking it out shot for shot, so there is no clear winner to this pair-up. They're both part of the top 3, the trifecta of the largest e-reader and e-book manufacturers in the entire world. Follow Goody Reader at goodyreader.com. You can of course follow me at Toge Trial, and for comparison between the Kobo Libra 2 and the Amazon Kindle Paperwhite 5, this is Peter.